Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hello, my name's Julie Wood. I'm the Director of Strategy and Operations for Vivli. We're really pleased today to be able to welcome Ida Sim, who is a professor of medicine at University of California, San Francisco, as well as a Vivli co-founder. She's here to speak to you about how to share your data using Vivli. Ida, welcome.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, everyone, to this. Welcome to this webinar. Data sharing is all over the news. There is great interest, as you know, in sharing data from electronic health records and also from clinical research, especially participant-level data from clinical trials. As reported in Science, Vivli is a new portal that for the first time will make clinical trials data available in one place. And in this webinar, we will present what this new portal means for clinical researchers. We will cover why we should be sharing clinical trials data. We will introduce Vivli, how to use Vivli to share participant-level data and to request data. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we will get back to you shortly. If you're a clinical trialist, your first question is probably, why should I share my data? You've worked very hard to recruit patients, you've run your study. Aren't you just giving away your hard-earned work by sharing your data? Well, there are many reasons to share your data, and I want to highlight 3 of them. Journal requirements, increased citations, and we owe it to participants. So one very important reason to be paying attention to data sharing is that as of July 1st of last year, a group called the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, or ICMJE, has made a new requirement. The ICMJE includes leading journals that we would all like to publish in, including the New England Journal, JAMA, Lancet, and others. The new requirement is that all manuscripts for clinical trials must be submitted with a data sharing statement. The statement must describe how you will share your individual participant level data, or IPD. This is row level data for each of the participants in your trial. And you need to state the who, what, when, where, and why of how you plan to share your IPD. Although IPD sharing is not yet required, the editors do say that they may take into consideration data sharing statements when making editorial decisions. And we have heard anecdotally that manuscripts have been rejected because there was no data sharing statement. So the editors are serious about this. The ICMJE tends to be a leader in journals, and other journals do tend to follow the lead of ICMJE. So this is definitely one reason to be paying attention to sharing your data and to be thinking about data sharing plans. Another reason to share your data is that it increases your citations. Pinawar and Vision showed that studies that made data available in a public repository received 9% more citations than similar studies that do not. And because sharing facilitates science, the effect of the sharing adds up over time and can go rapidly over years to improve your H-index. So if you share your data, you will have more citations, and that is a concrete reward and recognition for your sharing. And perhaps the most compelling reason to share, it's because we owe it to trial participants who have given of themselves for science. Here are some tweets from a summit for data sharing hosted by the New England Journal in 2017. We see comments like, share the data as widely as possible and as soon as possible to advance human health. We also see the outcomes of a patient panel. Share early, often, with me, responsibly, understandably. And this one, patients incredulous that sharing data isn't the norm, speaking loud and clear, share my data. Now, these comments certainly echo what we hear from patients and patient advocacy groups. Uniformly, patients are surprised, yes, often incredulous, that we are not routinely sharing and reusing data to learn more. So I've given 3 very good reasons to share clinical trial data, but of course we recognize it's actually really hard to share. Particularly for academics, there are a lot of things that make it really hard. For one, secure data hosting or data sharing may not be available to us. Or if they are, perhaps our home institution has the data sharing platform. Often those platforms don't allow researchers from outside of our institution to access the data. which does not allow us to meet the data sharing requirements that funders and journals and so forth are moving towards. There is a lack of standard data use and data sharing agreements. Obviously, this leads to a lot of overhead to manage agreements. For data sets that require independent review of data requests, there is no ready process for that. And de-identification or anonymization of IPD can be costly and difficult, and this is particularly challenging for academics who were never trained about de-identification. So these and other barriers make it difficult for academics to meet data sharing requirements. But of course, data sharing isn't only about data contributors. For sharing to generate scientific value, the IPD has to be used. But it's not easy to be a data user either. It's difficult to discover what IPD is available for sharing. It is both time intensive and resource intensive, costs a lot to combine data sets from different platforms, if it's even possible. The data often come with different data standards, data requirements, the security standards and policies are different. And many existing platforms are disease specific, whether it's cardiology, infectious disease, or cancer. But more and more in science, we want to ask questions that cross disease boundaries. And disease-specific platforms limit our ability to ask the kinds of questions we want to ask. And finally, many data sharing platforms are focused more on supporting the data sharing side and somewhat less on supporting data users, which means that the range of analytic tools is sometimes limited. Now, as we were building Vivli, these pain points came through to us very loud and clear, and we made sure to address these pain points for both data contributors and for data requesters. Certainly, many of us in academia wear both hats. We may be clinical trialists ourselves and also want to analyze other people's data or conduct meta-analyses and other pooled analyses. So for data contributors, I'd like to contrast how Vivli handles the pain points of some data repositories that you may be familiar with. For storing individual participant level data, or IPD, there are repositories like Frickshare and Dryad that can certainly do that. And as we mentioned, many university repositories also can handle, store, and securely host IPD. Just as a clarification, clinicaltrials.gov and other trial registries can store summary level data, but they do not store participant level data. They don't store the row level data, and certainly for clinicaltrials.gov, there are no plans to be able to store IPD. Vivli and sites like Frickshare and Dryad do have harmonized data contributor and data use agreements, but only Vivli provides a secure environment for sharing restricted access, IPD, we'll talk about this later, and for cases where data request requires independent review, Vivli offers that as well. For data users, Vivli provides a one-stop shop for finding participant-level data on any therapeutic area from any contributor worldwide. We provide a harmonized data request form. You're able to bring in your own data and software, and we have uniform security standards and policies that are transparently described on our website. And we'll go into much more detail later. But this slide shows a landscape of some of the major data sharing platforms you may be familiar with and how Vivli fits in. So before I go into more detail on how Vivli addresses these pain points, just stepping back to introduce Vivli. Vivli is a US-based nonprofit organization that's almost 2 years old now. We have a convening function. We bring together all the stakeholders in data sharing, including industry, academia, nonprofit, government, and patient advocate groups. We spend a lot of time on governance and policy. We advocate for data sharing with many partners across academia and industry worldwide. And we run the Vivli platform, which is a secure, state-of-the-art computing platform that's in the Microsoft Azure cloud. We serve the international community, and we include trials from any disease, country, sponsor, funder, or investigator. So let's go now into more detail on the platform and how to use it. There are currently over 3,200 trials on Vivli, reflecting over 1.5 million participants from over 100 countries. We have 16 institutional members, reflecting a wide range of stakeholders from academia, pharma, biotech, and government. Here are our founding members. You see leading research universities such as Harvard, Hopkins, and UCSF, along with companies like GSK and Pfizer, and also NIH data repositories like BioLink and Import. These members have been true partners in helping to create the Vivli vision, and we are very grateful for their enthusiasm and support. Let's step through the data sharing timeline. When you prepare your grant, as we'll go over in the next few slides, you will be asked to provide a data sharing plan. When you register your trial, you will also be asked to provide details of data sharing. When your trial is completed, you may wish to archive your IPD data package in Vivli, and we'll step through that. 12 months after your study completion, you are expected to provide your summary results to clinicaltrials.gov. And of course, if you submit to an ICMJE journal, you will be expected to provide your data sharing plan, also as we discussed earlier. So let's follow the branch of when you archive your data with Vivli. Once you provide us with your data package, your study will be listed on the Vivli website, and it will be searchable. People will be able to find it. We do provide the option of an embargo period. Perhaps you're finishing up your primary paper and need a bit more time before sharing your data. But at some point, the embargo is lifted, your study becomes available for data requests, and if approved, your IPD will be reused and tracked. So this is the basic flow over the life cycle of your study. Stepping through the steps now for grant submissions. When you're submitting a grant, you should check with your funder if data sharing is required. We are hearing from more and more funders that IPD data sharing is required. If you're submitting to the NIH, there is a draft data sharing and management policy that is on the NIH website now that is proposing the following requirements. That all grants, not just those with direct costs over $500,000, must have a data sharing plan. And not only that, that you must actually share your data according to your approved plan. These are not yet requirements, but they likely will be in the near future. Now, Vivli helps you with your grant preparation by providing standard language that you can adapt for your proposal. You can find this standard language on our website. And your data sharing costs should just be part of the budget proposal. Moving on to trial registration, as you know, you must register your trial before you enroll your first patient. And for some time now, clinicaltrials.gov's registration record has included an optional IPD data sharing statement. However, as of January 1st, 2019, the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, ICMJE, is now requiring that you complete this IPD data sharing statement at the time of your original trial registration. So editors will be looking for this later on, years after you've registered your study or months after and you were submitting a manuscript, they will be looking back to see whether you described your data sharing plan at the time you registered your study initially before you enrolled your first patient. So this is a new requirement that you need to be paying attention to. And just as Vivli provides text to assist you with grant preparation, we also provide text for a data sharing plan to ICMJE journals. So Vivli makes it as easy as possible for you to meet your data sharing obligations. When your trial is completed, you can host or archive your study on Vivli. You can do this by sending us your clinicaltrials.gov registration ID and providing us with your IPD data package, which I'll describe in the next few slides. Once you've done this, Vivli takes care of long-term data sharing for your study, even after your grant funds end. So you don't have to answer data requests or dig out old data files for years and years after your study staff have all left. This is a major, major benefit for academics. So there are 3 steps to providing Vivli with your IPD data package. The first step is to put the package together. The IPD must be de-identified, as I will discuss in the next slide. And to ensure that others will understand your IPD, you must also include in the data package the final protocol with amendments, the data dictionary, and the statistical analysis plan. You may also share your case report forms or analytic code or other documents if you so wish. Next, you sign a data contributor agreement. And then it's an easy drag and drop to upload your data package to Vivli. We have a help desk to support you every step of the way. And when you're done, Vivli will assign a digital object identifier, or a DOI, to your data package so that others can cite your data set, and then you can get academic credit for that citation. So before you upload your IPD to Vivli, the data must be transformed to reduce the risk of re-identification of study participants. And this may involve removing personal identifiers, all the way up to much, much more involved processes of anonymization. And for some data sets, this can be very complex. And if you don't have expertise in this area, Vivli can connect you with our partner Privacy Analytics for de-identifying or anonymizing your data. We recommend but don't require that your IPD be in CDISC SDTM format. The SDTM format is required for submission to the FDA, the EMA, and other regulatory agencies. So most industry studies are already in SDTM, although in academia, we're just starting to learn about the standard format for clinical trials data. So that's a recommendation, but not required. And at present, Vivli also does not require that trials use any standardized data variables or common data elements. We take the data set as they are originally collected. So what happens when a data request is made? You've provided the IPD package to Vivli, it's searchable, you've lifted your embargo, and now somebody's requested your data. So what happens? Vivli manages the administration of all data requests. It does not come back to you, we just handle it. If the request is approved, we publish the title, case summary, and name of the requester on the Vivli website, and this is to promote transparency of this whole process. Once approved, the requester can access your IPD package in two ways. If you as a data contributor permit it, the user can download your IPD onto their own machine and do whatever they want with it, and include posting it to a public website. It is up to you to decide if this is right for your data. You should consult with your institution and your study funder or sponsor. Alternatively, you can restrict access to your IPD so that users can only access your data in a secure research environment that is completely isolated from the rest of the internet. And we'll talk more about this when we discuss how to access and analyze data in Vivli. If your users are accessing your data in a secure environment, they will have access to your IPD for 12 months, extendable to 18 months on request. The costs for sharing data through Vivli are very reasonable. To archive your IPD package and have Vivli handle future data requests, there is a one-time charge of $2,000. If you want data requests to be reviewed by an independent review panel, the one-time cost will be $4,500. Still very reasonable given the overall cost of running any clinical trial these days. And de-identification and anonymization services are also available through our partner, Privacy Analytics. So in summary, Vivli has addressed the major pain points of sharing clinical trials data. The main benefits include having a DOI. This is a persistent identifier, a unique identifier to your data set that allows for others to cite your data and to give you credit for your research data. There will be yearly metrics on the number of data requests to your data, the resulting publications. You can archive your studies on Vivli, and Vivli will manage your IPD sharing even after your grant funds end. And finally, Vivli makes it easy to fulfill requirements for data sharing plans. And when new requirements inevitably will be coming from journals and funders, Vivli will also make it much easier to fill the requirements for actually sharing the data. So this covers the data sharing side of Vivli. What about accessing data? Vivli has over 3,200 trials. How does the data request process work? This is the data request and access process. Anybody can go to the Vivli platform and search for studies that have participant-level data available. You don't need to establish an account, and it's free to search. And it's also free to request data as well. You do need to establish an account, though, as you submit a request. You can request data from as many studies as you wish, from any combination of data contributors. Each data request is reviewed according to the contributor's publicly stated requirements that you can find on our website. Each of them have their own criteria. If you are given approval, you can access the data either through Vivli's secure research environment or by direct download to your own machine, as we discussed earlier. You can then analyze your data. Within the Vivli secure environment, we provide analytic tools to help you combine and analyze multiple data sets. And your completed research results are also assigned a DOI so that when you submit your manuscript on this secondary analysis work, you can cite back to the data set that you used. This is providing the accountability and traceability for secondary analysis work that we expect of the people who conduct primary studies. This is a message that we heard loud and clear from clinical trialists. They say, if I'm running a clinical trial and I'm accountable and I need to register, why isn't that the case for people who reuse my data? Why do we not have that traceability and accountability? Perhaps this is new to our culture, but Vivli's putting in the citation and other support for establishing accountability for everyone, for primary researchers as well as secondary researchers. So there's a short video demo at the link shown here that steps through how to search, request, and access and analyze data on Vivli. Do want to say a little bit more about our secure environment. Our secure environment is in the Microsoft Azure cloud. It looks just like a Windows desktop. And within this environment, we provide tools such as Stata, SAS, R, Python, Jupyter Notebook, Microsoft Office. If you have a request that's been approved, you will be provided with a secure environment that is specific to your project. So if you requested 10 studies and 8 were approved from, say, BioLink, Pfizer, GSK, from different platforms, they will all show up in your desktop in your own project-specific secure environment, and you will be able to pull and analyze that data together. To this secure environment, you can also bring in other data that you have access to yourself. You can bring in your own scripts and your own tools to run in the environment. And when you're done, you can pull out your research results. You just can't pull out the original participant level data, of course. So Vivli is the first time, as the Science article said, that you're able to bring together participant level data from multiple platforms, such as some of the ones shown here, into one secure environment with the tools you need to expand the kinds of analyses and science that you want to do. So this is really a new benefit for the scientific community. Vivli offers 2 levels of research environments. The standard one will satisfy most researchers. It comes with Office 365, Stata, Jupyter Notebook, Python, and R. Every member of your research team, of your project team, no matter how big, can have their own user account to your project-specific secure environment. Up to 2 people can be active in the environment at any one time. For standard environments, there is no charge for the first 365 days and only $12 a day after that. The premium research environment is larger, and it also includes SAS for those who need it. And charges start after 90 days at $25 a day. There's a lot of value, certainly, in pooling data from multiple studies, but we recognize that value and that opportunity while also recognizing there's a burden for data contributors to have to respond to data requesters and vice versa. As a scientific community, I think we're early in the process for working out how we want to do this kind of collaborative work. At the moment, Vivli's approach is that communication and collaboration is entirely up to the parties involved. Data contributors on Vivli will know who has requested the data and who has access to data, because approved data requests, as we mentioned, is listed on the website, and there will be an email address for the PI of each data request. So contributors can always reach out to the PIs who have successfully requested their data. On the flip side, data requesters will have the email, of course, of the data contributors, so people can connect with each other if they wish. They may choose to collaborate, they may choose to be co-authors, or they may choose not to respond at all. It's up to the parties involved. All publications arising from the use of the Vivli data must, however, acknowledge the use of the original data by citing the appropriate DOIs. Vivli will be tracking these publications, and we will be displaying these metrics on our website. So in summary, the main benefits of requesting IPD through Vivli include the one-stop search to find participant-level data, currently from more than 3,000 trials. There is a single data request form for all studies, which makes it much easier to request studies from multiple data contributors. And for the first time, Vivli allows you to bring together data sets from Vivli and other multiple platforms as well. And of course, there's a secure and yet customizable environment where you can bring in your own data tools and scripts. No other data sharing platform provides all these benefits for data users. So we encourage you now to go to Vivli and search for data and put in a request. We do have a data challenge running. The first 10 requests to be approved and active on the platform get a prize. So go check this out and submit your request. We are driving both the data contributor side as well as the data user side of data sharing, because the more we contribute data, the more value there is, the more use there will be, the more value is extracted out of that data, which then makes the case for data contributors to contribute more data. So this is a virtuous cycle that we are driving, and that means meeting the needs of both people who share the data and the needs of the people who are using the data. So in conclusion, why should we be sharing our participant-level clinical trial data? Certainly there are sticks, the journal and funder requirements, and there are carrots, increased citations that help us to advance our careers. There's what we should do as a moral obligation to trial participants. But fundamentally, really, this is about advancing science, right? It's not about meeting administrative requirements. Working together, we can use this data to advance science and expand the kind of questions that we can ask. And Vivli is making data sharing both easy and worthwhile. We invite you to visit our website and to explore more about our data and our services. Thank you very much for attending this webinar.